Ladies and gentlemen, this is Curt from Winetasters Choice. I thank you for joining. I want to present Miss Amy Holmwood, the founder of Origen Spirits. And Amy's a bit of a Renaissance woman. And she graduated from George Washington University. I've got her background pulled up here with a BBA in International Business and attended Harvard Education and Stanford Center for Health Education. Also, the Nutrition Science program and Master of Science degree in Biotechnology Enterprise. I don't even know what that is. From Johns Hopkins University. So, impressive background, Amy.
Yeah, I've been to school for a while. I kept going.
And it looks like you went to a self-taught school of spirits now.
Yes, sir. That is what I think this industry is. There's so much to learn. I don't think it's unending, at this point. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I also noticed that this industry for a long time has been pretty much white male driven, but that's been changing. I'd say probably especially over the past 10 years or so, and even more so the past 5 years.
It has, and that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about being part of the change. We like to say inspire change today is one of my sort of mottos. And I was similar in my career in financial advisory as well. It was just 95% men. And, so it's exciting to be a part of this new movement in the spirits industry for women. There's a lot of opportunity.
Did you see any, I would assume in the finance industry being so male driven, you probably learned some things. What is a lesson you learned from that male dominated industry that you took with you that benefited you in the spirits industry?
That I was always felt to have a seat at the table. I really needed to be prepared and to really to know every aspect as much as you can about what you're about to enter into, anticipating questions that might come up, and unfortunately trying to outsmart other people. So you actually deserve a seat at the table because you actually have information that maybe other people might not have thought about. Just had to go one step further beyond, a cigar and a golf match, if you will, to create a relationship. I think it's super important for women to be prepared, to be able to have the credibility that is needed to participate in a different way because we're not part of the old boy network. I do think one lesson I have learned, and I feel like so many women can learn from this too, is creating a network of resources of people the way men do. And women really don't do that. They don't have the same, maybe they do more now because of athletics and things in school. Girls are playing sports and they're connecting and they're doing that through college. When I grew up, it wasn't like that. So we didn't have like that network of guys that you'd hang out with, after college. So I think today women are learning to network that way and to understand the importance of a network. The importance of having people that are going to be there to back you up and to help you is super important for women. And that's something I did learn from being in a male-dominated industry, is how important that is for business.
Well, networking comes down to relationships. And at the end of the day, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, it really comes down to relationships.
It does. And certainly in the spirits world, it's a relationship business. It is absolutely who do you know that can help you to establish credibility because there's so much competition. And there are some really, really brilliant people in the spirits world that are revered, and so, and having somewhat of a legacy and a reputation does have a lot of power. And when you walk into something without any background, it does kind of put you at kind of the bottom of the pile. So, getting connected to the right people and working with people that have experience has been super important. But I will say one thing, because it is such a, with the three-tier system in the spirits world, and having those relationships are so important. But also, innovation needs to take place, and often, bringing a new idea to the table and, kind of ruffling some feathers really needs to happen in the spirits world. So I see that there's a lot of excitement around what we're doing, even with people who would say, oh, that's not going to work, or, oh, that's going to be too difficult, disrupting the spirits industry, being a woman, and also doing it in a more holistic approach to developing spirits has piqued a tremendous amount of curiosity from people who have been doing it differently. and, and have been successful. So that's exciting.
So what led you to, you're the founder of Origen Holistic Spirits. What was the impetus for that? I read in your bio here, in your childhood, you had severe asthma, and then you had Lyme disease in your 30s. And from what I understand here, that's what kind of led you to start really looking into health more and and maybe questioning some of the conventional practices or mindsets. Is that one of the things that kind of led to it?
Absolutely, yeah. And so taking a more natural approach to health is something that was very important for me to heal from Lyme disease. I was fortunate to grow up with someone my mother was very educated on natural health. And also she was a chef. So as far as just learning food is medicine and knowing that, healing within really comes from what you put into your body. And so one of the questions I kept asking myself as I'm watching the wellness movement affecting food and changing the food industry, and I've invested in a lot of companies that are innovating in the food science area, is, why isn't anyone innovating in the area of alcohol other than, just craft more clean spirits and, using sustainability and, recycled glass and things like that, which is awesome. Supporting local farms and, trying to work locally in communities with farms and things like that, homegrown distilleries. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's a great business. But why isn't anyone using plant science to actually make alcohol better for your metabolism? And so that was something that I was kept asking myself, why isn't anybody doing this, as I'm watching the industry change around food sciences and what we're putting into our body. And so
but not alcohol.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it's a big idea. I'm an entrepreneur. When I was studying the biotechnology enterprise master's degree, we studied a lot of entrepreneurs that really had huge ideas that changed the world. And, if it's a big enough idea, it's worthy of taking the time to at least do the research on whether it's possible. And so, to come out of retirement and, in my 60s to say, hey, let's go into a whole new industry where I have no experience, but to take a different approach to it. And it was more like a passion project, just out of sheer curiosity, because it was a big enough idea. I thought if we could figure it out, that it would be a worthy cause, that would be better, that would make people's lives better. And it would be part of a new movement to be able to inspire change for how can we make the alcohol industry better and actually have some accountability around it where we can actually provide something. People are going to still drink. I mean, we know that's not going to change. But why not give them something better if we can? And so we have to be very careful, Curt. As you know, alcohol is regulated by the PTB, Tobacco Trade Bureau, firearms, and all of that good stuff. And so we can't say anything that, we all know alcohol is a toxin. We can't make health claims. But if you're going to drink, why not drink better? And so why not look at the possibility of that? And that idea actually came to life because of sheer curiosity.
I like that quote. I was that you said, if an idea is big enough, you at least owe it to yourself to explore it or something. Yeah, I like that. Now, so I like that approach because, so if I'm understanding you correctly, there have been advances in the food industry and about, eating better, looking more at the chemicals that are being put in our body, but that wasn't the case in the spirits industry, correct?
No, it's not. Although there has been some association of, just use tequila as an example, that's a healthier spirit. People have an association, gluten-free, from agave plant. So there's a desire, and we know it's real, for the consumer to have something better, lower calorie, potentially easier to metabolize. The tequila is the number one. It's out, it hasn't outpaced vodka yet, but it's the fastest growing category.
Yeah.
And so there's a desire there for the consumer to have something better. And so this is something we can piggyback off of. If you follow certain entrepreneurs, Elon Musk, I'm just going to use him as an example. When you have an idea that no one believes it's possible to achieve, okay, then you really have something because most people don't think it's possible to make alcohol healthier. It's a suspension of disbelief. So it's what they call a contrarian truth. When the world thinks that it's contrary to the truth, that's the best time to explore the idea, because no one else is doing it yet. Because you have an uphill battle, a boulder to push up hills, especially when you have such a regulated product like alcohol. So to me, it was like, this is really cool when you study these different entrepreneurs that just push through the barrier, And so to me, I love stuff like that. I love the idea of that. And also doing it because it does progress society and advance civilization. And I'm very much an advocate of anti-aging sciences as well, natural anti-aging sciences, using food, plants, supplements as medicine as well, as opposed to medical medicine. So, pharmaceutical. So anyway, that's the way I looked at this. And I think it's super important for people to understand that. And I'm glad that you asked me that question and you like that, because it is how things get done. If somebody has an idea, if nobody else has thought of it or tried to patent it yet, then it's even a better idea. And that we found that experts in the field hadn't thought of this idea. Like they were like, ooh, I hadn't thought about the way that I approached it with different ingredients. So we filed a patent. So we're hoping that will be approved. So we're excited about that too.
Okay, so that's interesting. And I'm going to take a quick detour, get off of Origen Spirits, and just a question about entrepreneurship briefly. You've obviously done quite a bit in your career, different things, and very well educated. When it comes to entrepreneurship, let's say, what message would you give to somebody who's starting out? Let's say they want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't they don't have that thing yet. Like, oh, I want to invent the Tesla car, or I want to invent Origen Holistic Spirits, something whatever it may be. What would be your kind of let's say you have a kid or whoever, and that was a bit wordy. Let me back that up, because sometimes I get a bit wordy. Let me start over. Jane, edit that part out. What advice would you give to somebody, and you could tailor this to the younger generation, whoever you want, because the world's changed a lot since COVID as far as work, and people have been reevaluating their lives and questioning the standard, graduate high school, get a degree, find a mate, get married, start a family, get the house, the white picket fence, whatever, work, pay taxes, die, repeat, right? That's kind of been upended. And I've seen this kind of rise in entrepreneurship, creator economy, whatever you want to call it. But what advice would you give somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur but hasn't started yet and doesn't have their idea yet?
The idea needs to solve a problem for you. Your idea, and even though you don't have one yet, think of the things that you wish you had access to that you can't find. So and it solves a problem for you personally. So like, what are your eyeglasses, or don't you wish that ergonomic chair had a different lumbar support, but you haven't found one on the market, okay? And it's something you would buy, okay, number one. And number two, if it's something that it solves a problem for you, you could be really excited about that for a long time, because it's solving a problem for you. I like to drink. I like to have a few cocktails. I couldn't find the product I wanted on the market, and I knew if I could develop this, I would always be a raving fan, because it solves a problem for me, and it's something I'm going to be able to continue to be excited about. And that, I think, as a business owner, the one thing I can tell you is, over the years, if you can be excited about what you're working on every day, you'll never go to work. You'll never have a day of work, because you're so excited about what you're doing. And then how is it making the world a better place? Is that idea actually going to make people's lives better? Not just for you, but does it also affect other people? Because if it's just one guy or girl that just likes one kind of earring and nobody else cares about that, you might be excited about it, but nobody else cares.
Is there an audience for it?
That's right. Is there an audience for that? And so if you have those three things, you have something. You have something. And then if it's an idea that's big, that hasn't been fleshed out yet, look at the fundamental truths. The fundamental truths that are already there about the idea. And that's the Elon Musk theory, because he could come up with an idea and other people would say that's absolutely impossible. But he knows the math, he knows the physics, he knows the science enough that there's fundamental truths that idea could be possibly come true. Because it might still have to be built on, but there's fundamentals to it of the science, whether it's, lithium batteries or, having whatever the idea entails scientifically. If you can find what those fundamental truths are, you will be able to find other people that can help you build the idea, that really know about the fundamental truths. There's people in the science world that knew about how to take plants, and they've tested with alcohol because they do that with pharmaceutical testing. I knew that. I studied biotechnology and plant science. When you study a pharma drug, they use all kinds of toxins with alcohol, right? And then they put other stuff in there to see if they can stop toxicity. There's people in the world that know about that. I didn't call a spirits distiller. I called a molecular biologist, an organic chemistry PhD, and said, hey, do you think if we use some of this plant stuff, we might be able to mitigate some of the toxicity of alcohol? They were like, that's a really cool idea. Let's see if we can do that. So there's a truth to the potential that could happen. But nobody else had published anything on how to do it. Okay.
Okay. So based on your background in biotechnology, you thought, okay, nobody else thinks this is possible, but I think there's a way to create a spirit that would be less toxic. So that was one of your truths.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue into Origen Holistic Spirits. But I'll ask another entrepreneur question, but related to Origen. What advice do you give people if they want to venture into an area that they don't have a background in? Like you didn't have a background in the spirits industry in any way, shape, or form. So what lessons would you give somebody?
Well, you certainly have the world at your fingertips, right, with the internet, and be able to find and do your own research on people that know about that industry. Listen, pick up the phone and call people. Send an email to somebody and say, hey, I've got this idea. I'd love to be able to talk with you about it. People are loving, especially experts in a certain field. They love to mentor. They love to educate. They love people to call them and ask them questions. They do. They love it. So it's kind of like ask a lot of questions. And that's the other part of being an entrepreneur is, find really smart people that you can ask those questions of. And don't let anyone stop you from your idea, because you're going to get a lot of resistance from people, especially your family and friends, the ones that know you. They're going to say you're crazy, it'll never happen, you don't know anything about it. And they also know all your past failures, right? People you know and love they're not going to be the ones that are going to support you. So don't get upset, don't stop when somebody that you love and trust says you think this isn't a good idea and you shouldn't do that. It's foolish. Don't do that. Absolutely. When people say this is a bad idea, it's probably a really good idea. Especially if you ask yourself those questions I talked about earlier, and there's a fundamental truth to the idea. So don't let other people stop you, because you are going to get resistance when you're an entrepreneur. You always will. If you don't get resistance, it's your idea probably sucks. It's probably too well known already, and people already know about it, so they accept it as a truth, and it's probably already too late. So I do believe the more resistance you get to your idea, the better your idea probably is.
Funny you say that about family and so forth. I read an interview, a really wonderful interview with Sarah Blakely from Spanx, and she said, this is not verbatim, but it's very close. She said, this part is verbatim, that ideas are most vulnerable in their infancy. And then she went on to say, if I remember the interview correctly, the point she was getting at is if you have a really a big idea, don't tell anybody close to you, or don't tell anybody at all, actually, because they'll probably try to dissuade you maybe not out of a bad place, but just to protect you. But if you're spending so much time defending that idea, it's taking time away from you working on that idea.
Right. And there is absolutely. But I will say one caveat to me, and that's the third thing that I would have said as the three ideas, which is, something that solves the problem for you, you can be excited about forever. And then also, don't be afraid to talk about your idea and thinking someone's going to steal it. Most people don't have the energy to steal your idea. If you don't talk about your idea, you're never going to find the people that are going to help you build that company.
Oh,
you have to talk about it, because you'll never find those experts that are going to help you unless you share it. You just keep it. So many people, so many great ideas just die, right? Because they're not talking about it. So in order for it to become real, you have to talk about it. But don't get discouraged, like Sarah Blakely agrees with, that people are going to try to shoot you down. But don't be afraid to find people to talk about it with, that are actually going to potentially be able to help you. And that's how you're going to find your network.
That makes sense. Yeah, because obviously by talking about it, you'll find other people that are into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And you have to. You cannot do it on your own. It's impossible to do it yourself.
Okay.
And of course, Sarah Blakely had people that helped her along the way, even though she didn't raise any money. She found phenomenal people to work with her, right? So she didn't do the whole thing on her own. I mean, I'm sure, she had some other smart people that helped her figure this thing out.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that can do everything on their own, because as I get older, I'm 52, as I get older and learn more about life, I find that I don't care how successful you are, you really, your level of success is largely dependent on your support system and then things out of your control, like luck, being in the right place, right time. I mean, like take, 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, and this is not anything against him, but what if he would have got drafted to the Lions or the Browns? He wouldn't have those Super Bowl rings. And that's not to take anything away from him. He earned it. He deserves it. But, you can't get to that level, really high levels of success without, like, what was it somebody put to me? They said, you could take 10 people who are in the same industry, who are all superbly talented, same talent, same skills, same people skills. What's going to make one more successful than the other? His or her connections, being in the, a little bit of luck, right place, right time. But okay, so let's jump into Origen, because that's why we're here. So take me back. You one day you don't have this spirits company, and then one day the idea comes in. You're like, I want to do this. So can you walk me through the progression of when Amy's here without Origen, and Amy has Origen?
Yeah. So again, following the theories that we talked about of entrepreneurship is that discovery phase, right? So it's a proof of concept, and that required scientists to work on. So I have a lot of connections in the nutrition space, because I had another wellness company that I still actually have, and I just hired some scientists to do research on different ingredients to see, what would hold up and stabilize an alcohol that was very powerful antioxidant ingredients that are also what they call GRAS certified, generally regarded as safe by the FDA, that we can use in alcohol. So you are limited to those, unless you petition to try to get more approved. But anyway, so that's what we did. And we started to play around with different ingredients and find out what would stabilize. And then after we realized that, then we had to do cellular testing to see if it actually made a difference if it was in alcohol. Did it make less free radicals? Those are those loose electrons that damage cells and damage your DNA when you drink. And then, if you put those ingredients together that actually seem to work, is there a synergy to the ingredients, or do they actually change once put together and then what would the base alcohol look like? Alcohol's made from, it's ethanol, basically. It can be corn, wheat, sugar, tulip bulbs. I mean, you can make alcohol out of any kind of plant. And how did that actually affect the ingredients? So that was all the beginning stages of, and spent quite a bit of money on that. And it took almost a year and a half, almost 2 years to get through that. It was during COVID, so we had a lot of restrictions around a lot of laboratories that would do testing, availability of, different machines that are doing testing and cell testing, and even the culture medium that you use to do the cellular testing wasn't always available. So there were it took a while. And then just from there, then met with some distillers and showed them what our ingredients, the tasting profile, what would it taste like, what was the color, how would the color stabilize, would it have bacteria growing, all of those things. So the process of proof of concept took almost 2 years. And then from there, met with some distillers that we knew we wouldn't want to build a distillery. Too expensive. We didn't need to do that. Most alcohol is made by contract distilling. Different distilleries do most of the alcohol, especially vodka, tequilas, things of that nature. So found sustainability was a big part of my purpose of building the company, was using less water, using local distilleries that potentially are giving back to their community, using local farms for ingredients and things of that nature. Vetting those sourcing, right? Ingredients from all over the world. What's the supply chain look like? What kind of chemicals or not are they using? Is it organic? Can we get it organic? So, all the things that actually developing the product and then bringing it to a distillery and then, finding distilleries that actually have a sustainability platform and can actually make an organic product as well. So that was a whole process. We were very fortunate to find some amazing family-owned distilleries that actually help make our gin. And we also have a gin now that we're coming out with. So this process has been incredible. And there are so many wonderful people in the space of spirits that are really trying to make the industry better and cleaner. So we were able to develop the product with people that have expertise in sustainable distillation. And that was hugely important to our platform. I wouldn't have done this without that. So we have 2 different distilleries, one in Petaluma, California, and one in Frederick, Maryland, that are using sustainable manufacturing practices to make our product. And, from there, and then working on distribution and trying to find distributors that help to network and sell your product for you in different states with all the licensing that it requires. A lot of steps involved to this. Also direct to consumer, are people going to buy this online? People are starting to buy alcohol, spirits, food, everything online. So setting up our company to be set up online, not hard to do. Lots of platforms for alcohol online now. During COVID, 60% of alcohol was purchased online and delivered to people's homes. So we knew we had the opportunity there to really enter at a time when people are getting more comfortable with buying spirits online. So, that's a long-winded answer, but, no different than developing a new product and, sourcing raw materials and figuring out supply chain, cost of goods sold, margins and all that, bringing financial people in, the whole thing, and just doing this really on my own, frankly, and just using consultants. And now we do have some full-time employees, and we have a COO now and people that are experienced in the industry. So, now we're just up and running, Curt. Finally, we did a pre-launch in April of 2022. We're fully launched now. And
awesome.
We are
Congrats.
available online, which is awesome. And in stores.
Oh, okay. What states are you available in to purchase?
Yeah,
to purchase like in store.
Yeah, in stores we're in 4 states. Online, we are in 41 states.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and why don't you talk a little bit about, because I think this is really cool, and is your vodka has a bit of a rose color to it, which is no other vodka, to my knowledge, I've seen, and it's really, really cool looking. So do you want to why don't you tell people a little bit about your, some of the botanicals you're using in the vodka, what the flavor profile's like, and that beautiful rosé color.
Yeah, so the color was really a complete accident. It was based on those ingredients that worked, that actually gave us a better result in terms of alcohol metabolism. So elderberry extract, which is fantastic for immune health. And that was, during COVID, was very popular for people to be taking, and so it was hard to get that, but now we have a full, it's amazing, and that gives a pink color. Muscadine grape, which is the strongest grape in the world. It's used for supplements mostly. It's grown in the American South, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky. It's a wild grape, but now it's farmed, and is incredible. Resveratrol, very good for blood flow, and also ellagic acid, which is only available in berries, and then this one grape, the muscadine. That gives it a little bit of a copper hue. There's a liquid that we put in it, and then we have green tea from China, which is amazing for metabolism. It's probably the most important ingredient in the product. And then we have artichoke leaf from the Loire Valley in France. Artichoke leaf, it's the leaves of the artichoke, not the globe itself. Those are like milk thistle, very, very good for liver health, and it happened to be available to put in alcohol. So most people wouldn't even think of having artichoke leaf. And then we make that with an organic Italian wheat base, which is gluten-free, and it's distilled 18 times. So this rose color comes from those combination of those 4 ingredients. And those are all raw ingredients that are added after it's distilled. So they're holding all their properties. Okay, so it's never heated, and then it's just, the cork is put on, and it's got at least a 2-year shelf life, which is to keep all the beautiful, powerful botanicals.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, because it really is stunning. And I'm looking at it here on my other screen. What would you say is, what surprised you, if anything, starting a spirit brand?
The cost. Very expensive. So, this is a business that if you are going to succeed and not have it take 20 years, it's very expensive. The marketing costs, distribution costs, manufacturing, all of the above, bottles, labels, the whole 9 yards. Very, very expensive. So you have to raise a lot of money. And that's the challenge, right? So you got to be like really good at raising money. You got to be a good salesperson.
Well, okay, that leads me to another question. How, because I know that most people that start a spirits brand, generally speaking, they have investors. Not all, but a lot of people do. And because I've interviewed a number of people as well, and it was the same for them. For somebody, let's say somebody wants to start their own spirit brand. Or actually, it doesn't matter. Start their own spirit brand, invent a new chair, whatever. But they need investors. What are some tips you could give somebody who want to find investors, who don't know the first thing about finding investors? Because they have a great idea, but my bank's a little bit short.
Sure. Yeah, again, that is, there are a lot of funds now that are available to help entrepreneurs with startups. There's something called the Founders Fund. There's a lot of organizations online that you can join to learn how to create an investor deck. What are the important components in an investor deck? And who can help you build those things at a low cost? There are so many resources now, Curt, online where people can learn how to do these things really on a shoestring budget. In terms of manufacturing alcohol, that's where you start to, you're going to need some expertise there. You're going to need to meet with some people that have done it before, because no investor is going to give you money if you don't have a team that understands how to make a spirit.
Yeah.
So you're going to need to find a distiller that believes in your idea, or you're going to find, somebody who's done this before, and they see your idea and they like what you're doing, and they believe in your idea. So, but you got to have someone with experience that's going to help you figure out how to make that product if you've never done it before. Yeah,
no, I get that. And then you said that there's resources available online. What would somebody Google if they were like, okay, I got this idea. What do you Google? Like investors for startups, or?
Yeah, that's perfect right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Start, investment, how to make my investment deck. What's the structure of an investment deck? You're going to find, 50 articles from Forbes, Fortune, Entrepreneur magazine, all those you're going to find. It's going to tell you exactly what things need to be in there, what kind of problem you're going to solve, how big is the idea, what are the trends in the market that have that idea relevant today, what other companies have succeeded in the space, and how do you differentiate from the pack? Like those are those 5 things where, and then, what is the financial model? What's your forecast going to look like based on some cost of goods sold? Because you're going to have to know what it's going to cost to make that product. And that, again, can be easily discovered by Googling how much does it cost, per proof gallon to make vodka, in Maryland. Google it, and it probably comes right up. How much does it cost where can I buy bottles? Do I need a bottle broker? Lids, labels, Google it. Average cost for a liquor label, it's all online.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh, okay. Where? Well, actually, I just thought of this. So let's say you have an idea. You need obviously you can't get investors unless a lot of other people have that same problem you want to solve. What does one do if they want to determine? Like, how would one go about figuring out if this problem exists for others?
Well, I don't think that is that big of a thing to figure out. It's like tires, okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Or glasses or alcohol. Who drinks vodka? Okay, so if you want to make a Amaro, okay, which is sort of a new type of thing, how big is that market? Look it up. You might have to spend a little money getting the data, but it's all there. Crunchbase is phenomenal. I always use that. It does cost a little bit of money to have that.
Crunchbase?
Crunchbase, yeah. You're going to find out who's investing in what companies. How much money are they raising? Who are the biggest companies in these different sectors? There's a lot of data out there. You do have to spend a little bit of money. There's a bunch of data websites that you can get involved in, but there's also free data. If you're part of any library, I swear, libraries are amazing. You can go to a library and sit there at the computer and go in the resources of a library, and they have a lot of different links that you might otherwise have to pay for on your own. So go to your local library and ask them if you can, you're doing research on a project, and what are the resources?
Oh, okay. So here's a question. What would, I think from my experience, and I'll just use restaurants as an example because I was a chef for 27 years. I've seen so many people like, I want to open a restaurant, and they don't know a thing about it, and the thing fails. And, restaurants, I think is 60% failure rate. Or it's a high number.
It's higher than that, but yeah.
Okay, so, the point I'm getting at is, I've always contended that the failure rate of restaurants isn't because restaurants are that difficult. It's because you get people because I've seen it too many times who want to open a restaurant and they have no idea what they're doing. And so, because it's not rocket science, so that leads me to my question. Here you are, you go into the spirits industry, which is not something you have a background in, and you have to find people who know the spirits industry, because obviously they know how to make spirits, whatever. If you are going into an industry where you do not have a background, and you have to hire people to help run your business, because again, that's not your area of expertise, what's a tip you would give anybody who is in a similar situation? Because, for example, let's say I want to hire an accountant. Let's say I'm going into the fashion industry and I need somebody to run the lipstick division. I don't know anything about lipstick because I kind of don't wear it. What would you recommend I do if I'm like, okay, well, Curt, you need to find somebody that knows the beauty industry. I don't know that industry, so for all I know, I could hire somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. How do you make sure you go about hiring the right person in an industry you don't know anything about?
Well, you're going to have to go onto LinkedIn, okay? You're going to go on Indeed. You're going to go onto these free websites, and you're going to post job description, right? And you're going to look up a job description online for whatever that job you think is. You go on, I need a chief sales officer. Google, what are the duties of a chief sales officer? If you do that today, you'll find exactly what the duties are. McKinsey & Company probably has a list. Here's the duties of a chief sales officer. Here's the duties of a branding officer,
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to say specifically lipstick. Okay, that's the category. There's going to be there's a search engine that's going to give all the lipstick people that are branding people to go look at your ad. Okay, you might have to spend $10 or $50, but that's what you're going to do, and you're going to be able to interview a ton of people because of that. So the question is how much time do you have to dedicate to this? Because you're going to be the one having to do that. So it's not hard to find people that with the internet today, with all these free job sites, right, that people are going on to try to find jobs. LinkedIn is fantastic. Start connecting to people that are lipstick people. Go on LinkedIn. Who works for, Maybelline lipstick or Estee Lauder, you're going to take time. You're going to be working 24/7, okay? And that is what the expectation has to be. And it's just, that's why you have to be excited about what you're doing, because you're going to be working like a dog to get this thing off the ground. And once it gets going, you're going to be doing that. So that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur, right? And you're going to do all those jobs yourself. In the beginning, you're going to have to be a good salesperson. You're going to have to get really uncomfortable most of the time. And if you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, then don't even start. You have to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Like going to the gym.
Yep. Except the gym, you can get, it's like going to the gym, but the gym you can get used to, right? You're going to be doing things that make you uncomfortable for a long time, because you're going to be doing a lot of different things, not just one workout.
Yeah.
You're going to be a salesperson one day. The next day you're going to be, a marketing person. The next day you're going to be a supply chain, talking to people. You're going to be doing it all. And that's just the way it's going to be for a while until you find your team. And if your idea is good enough, you won't have a problem finding fantastic people.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is there anything before we, I want to respect your time. We went over a bit. Sorry. Are there any questions that you would have liked me to have asked you about Origen that I didn't, and I can ask it now, and we can get that in the interview?
Yeah. You could ask what are the markets that we're in right now, and how can people buy it?
Okay. So, all right. So, where, what are the markets Origen is in, and where and how can they buy it?
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad. I was hoping you'd ask me that, Curt. So, we're in New York, New Jersey, California, and Florida. We are in stores. So, if you Google Origen, Origen, spirits.com, you will find a locator at the bottom of that landing page that shows the different on-premise, which are the restaurants that we're in, and off-premise are the liquor stores. But then online, you'll see a shop tab. And you can just click on that and put your address in, and it will pull up whether we're available in that state for direct-to-consumer. Our pricing is between $34 and $45 a bottle, depending on the state, depending on the shipping charges. Usually the higher the price has lower shipping charges, so it kind of all equals itself out. Usually 5 to 10 day delivery, depending on the location that you're in. We do have same day delivery in certain states: California, New York, New Jersey, again in Florida, same day delivery for a very low price. So yeah, we're expanding across the country now. We're getting into a lot of different markets. Actually, Charleston, we are in one store there now, a big store. So that's another state that we just added a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we're excited. Please go to our website and check us out. And we also have Instagram. If you want to look at Origen Spirits on Instagram, again, it's Origen. And that spelling is the origins of something new for the next generation of spirit drinkers. And that's how we came up with the name Origen.
Oh, nice. And are you planning, do you have a plan to get to, say, all 50 states in 2-3 years, anything like that?
We do, but it's a very deliberate rollout. We only want to be able to work where we can support the markets. So we have and you'll see that if you follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to kind of go along with, with our story and where we are. But also, Woody Harrelson, you don't even know this because it's on our website, but Woody Harrelson is one of our partners in the company.
Oh.
So we're really going to be excited about being able to announce him as a partner. He came on board because he loves the ingredients. He's a 30-year vegan. He's very much a health enthusiast, and was excited when he got a batch of our product a year ago.
Oh.
So you'll be seeing some fun ads and some fun involvement with Woody Harrelson in our brand over the next, year to 24 months.
Okay, no, I'm a big Woody fan. Do you mind me asking how did Origen and Woody Harrelson meet?
Yeah, we met through his agent as a friend of a friend. Again, this is all about network.
Yep.
Who sent him a bottle, and the agent said, "Wow, Woody would love this. He's a 30-year vegan. He loves ingredients, and he loves organic stuff, and he likes to drink a little bit." So we sent him a bottle, and he drank half of it with his wife, and he loved it and called the next day. And so that was a year ago, and now we're in business together. He's a co-founder of the company.
Nice.
So we're going to be talking a lot about how he's going to help us, propel the brand, all over the United States and actually internationally as well. Awesome.
And, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to be at Bar Convent, right?
We are. We're at Bar Convent. I'm speaking at that.
I'll be there.
Real exciting. Good. Yeah, we have a
So
lot
we
of
can meet.
events that
Yeah.
Bar Convent, Aspen Food and Wine. So yeah, we'll see you there, Curt.
Well, cool. Okay, so is there, before we go, anything, did I miss anything? I want to make sure. Okay, cool.
Yep, we're good to go.
Amy, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Amy Holmwood, the founder of Origen Holistic Spirits. Thank you so much.
Thank you.